Hello everyone and welcome to the next video. In this video, what we're going to be going over is expenses. So for the last little while, we've been gathering all this information from AIRDNA, we've been organizing it and figuring out the averages of everything. What we're going to do now is step away from AIRDNA for a minute and we're going to collect data from a different place, right? What we're going to do is we're going to get all the data on expenses based off of the location that you're in. So your own city, you want to know exactly what the expenses are for your city. And so what we're going to do is we're going to gather the reliable data and figure out how much it costs to manage a single Airbnb listing, depending on the unit size that you're interested in, or a variety of unit sizes, so 2 bedroom to 4 bedroom. And we will use this information alongside the B&B data from AirDNA Co. to complete the calculations in the next step, okay? So essentially, we're going to gather a bunch of information about expenses, and then we're going to have that information and then that we're going to use those numbers alongside the data that we just collected to complete our calculation to figure out exactly what we're looking at. You need to know what your expenses are to be able to know how profitable you can be, right? Because profit is revenue, so the total amount that the Airbnb brought in minus your expenses, and the profit is whatever's left over, that money you actually get to keep in your pocket. And so we need to know expenses through and through, okay? Now, it may not seem like a crazy important piece that we want to go through, and maybe you can just kind of guess what it's going to be, or take a number like 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, just kind of throw it at it and say this is probably what it's going to be, and that would be a mistake. Okay, and the reason being, I'll give you my own story on this, and what happened to me was I made the mistake of believing that the cleaning costs were going to be fairly similar regardless of where I was within the country. And so I had opened up homes in Chicago, and the cleaning cost for a 4 bedroom was $120, right? Every single time, $120, I'd pay that out. And that was a pretty good price, and I was happy with that, right? And then I went to Scottsdale, and I opened up some homes in Scottsdale, and they're also 4 bedroom homes. And so when I was doing my calculations, what I did was I said the cleaning is going to cost $120, right? What does that look like over the entire year? And I figured that out. However, what I ended up finding out was that the cleaning cost was actually $225. So a difference of $105, right? We'll just keep it at 100 for easy numbers. There's a $100 difference per clean. On average, there's about 8 cleans every single month. So this number was roughly around $10,000, a little under $10,000 of expenses that I completely missed because I didn't go and actually figure out how much it costs to clean a home in Scottsdale. And so, as you know, what I like to do is I like to make $20,000 of profit, right? And so when I look for a home, I figure out I like to make that $20,000. So I'm finding a home that'll make me $20,000 of profit. Well, because I didn't learn my expenses properly, I ended up finding homes that only made me $10,000 of profit instead of 20 because I didn't properly look into the cleaning expenses, right? And this can happen for any expense that you have. If you get that number off by $20, $50, $100, it's going to make a huge difference in the amount of profit that you actually get to keep. And so we want to make sure that when we're doing these calculations, we know the expenses as close as we possibly can get them. And I can't stress that enough. This is just as important as extracting the actual data and annual revenue. The expenses is everything. This is what is going to tell us, how much we're actually going to spend. And when we're doing this, we want to over calculate. Okay, so always over figure out. If you think it's going to be 10,000, put 12,000 because you really never know what could potentially happen, right? So for this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through all the different expenses that you are going to run into when you're operating an Airbnb, right? You may run into. If you already are running Airbnbs and you know all of your expenses, that's great. The next video is going to show you how you want to organize all of that. If you haven't ran an Airbnb yet, or maybe you just want to refresh your memory or learn a little bit more about expenses, what you want to do is walk through this video with me, and I'm going to walk through all the different ones and how to actually get that actual number so that you can use it in your calculation. Also useful if you're going to a different place and you haven't figured out the exact expenses, and maybe you're trying to use the expenses that you were using for over there like I did, and you don't want to make that mistake. So let's go through all the different Airbnb operating expenses. The first one we got is cleaning fees. Now, I've already told you my story of my mistake that I made here. So what I should have done is I should have started calling multiple different companies down in Scottsdale and figuring out how much a cleaning was actually going to cost. right? That's what I did here in Chicago. I called 5 different places. I got a bunch of different quotes. I put them up against each other, and I ended up walking away with $120 a clean. In Scottsdale, I found some places, but this wasn't until after I'd already started or I'd already signed the contract. I made that mistake. I signed the contract without knowing the exact amount of expenses that I was going to be paying, and don't make that mistake. So call around, call a bunch of different cleaning companies, get a quote, even find one that you want to work with and see how much they're worth. And I'm telling you right now, it is worth it to pay a tiny bit more for somebody that you can rely on, or you feel safer with, or you feel more confident in the way that they do things, than to take a little bit of a cut for somebody who's a little bit cheaper. I fired my first cleaning company within the first 2 weeks of working with them because they were a good price, but the thing is, they were just not cleaning well. They weren't good. They weren't good at cleaning, and they weren't working with me to try and get better. So I fired them within 2 weeks and hired another one. And that one I actually used for a year, right? So, anyways, cleaning expenses, cleaning fees, you got to figure out exactly what that is. And keep in mind, the average turnover for here in Chicago is 8 turnovers a month. So what that means is I have 8 cleans on average per month, right? Per home. Okay. We'll get into that in the next video. Now, laundry service. If you're going to be using a laundry service, start making some quotes. If you have a laundry machine within your unit, then you want to just use that, right? And have the people who are cleaning the home to actually figure that out, to use the machines. It's always going to be cheaper for them to wait for something to dry than to use a laundry service. Okay. The next thing is going to be gas, electric, and water. These are all utility bills that you generally have to pay when you're running an Airbnb. And if you're not paying, the landlord's paying. So you want to make sure that you know these numbers regardless. Okay. And you'll understand that a little bit better as we get to the sales side of things. So gas, electric, water, how much does that cost on average? From my experience, there isn't much of a difference between an annual tenant and a short-term rental tenant. They're roughly around the exact same of what the bill is going to end up costing you throughout the entire year. So what I would recommend is, if you don't know, so say you currently are living in a 1-bedroom and you're about to rent out a 5-bedroom, well, the utility bills are going to be different there. So what I want you to do is I want you to actually ask the landlord, or ask somebody, or Google and ask them how much it generally costs to run gas and use electricity within a 5-bedroom, because you don't know the exact number because you don't live in a 5-bedroom. Okay, so get the true numbers, and you want to find that average throughout the entire year. Okay, month by month and throughout the entire year. So those are going to be your utility bills. Now, internet and cable are going to be fairly simple. You're going to call up a company and you're going to ask them, what do you guys have for me? They're going to give you some sort of quote. When it comes to the internet, don't get crap internet. Okay, don't get shitty internet. Get some average internet. Don't get great internet. Get average internet. People will complain about bad internet. They won't notice the difference between average and great. Okay, so just get the average, because it'll save you money as well. I've never had a complaint about my internet, and that's what I've always done. If it's a difference between $50 and $75, I'll always go for the $75 as if it's a little bit better. Okay. And so that's what I recommend. With cable, I actually recommend don't getting cable. Like, don't get cable within your home. It's an extra expense. Nobody really uses cable that much anymore anyways, especially when they're on vacation. They just want to watch movies. And so what I do is I always get smart TVs, or I get a device that will turn my TV into a smart TV, like a Roku, or Ruka. I don't know how it's pronounced, but anyways, I get that. I attach it to my TV, and I have a streaming service. So I like to use Netflix. You can use Hulu, you can use whatever you want, right? But that's going to be an expense, so you want to make sure to calculate that as well, okay? The next thing is going to be pool maintenance and lawn maintenance. Once again, start calling some companies, seeing how much it's actually going to cost, and figure out what you're going to have to spend, because you need exact quotes. These ones will be a little bit easier because most of the time it's a base price. All the companies are the same. Find somebody you want to work with. And if you're not paying it and the landlord says, we're going to take care of that, and they've always taken care of it, that's great. But what I would do is know it still, because the landlord is still paying that expense. So if you know the landlord's expense, it's going to help in the sales cycle as well. Maybe you can take that off. Maybe you can pay that for him, right? And that'll blow his mind that you're willing to pay for the pool and maintenance. But to you, it's like not really all that much of a difference, and the home is so good you want to keep it. We're going to get into that. Regardless, know your pool and lawn maintenance if that applies to where you are. Now, damage and repairs. This is going to be the hardest one for you to be able to figure out, because it's a guess, because we have no idea what's going to happen. And so what we always want to do here is overestimate what we're going to spend on damages. always, because there will be one-offs where they will cost a lot of money, and you'll be really happy that you put money aside for that, right? For this one, the I believe what the investors do, so people are actually buying homes for and having annual tenants there, is they take 5% of the revenue that they're expecting. So if somebody's going to pay them, $1,000 a month, that's $12,000 throughout the year. They'll take 5% of that and they'll put that away towards expenses that they may inquire. Okay. What I like to do is I say $200 per month per home. I put that aside, and I say when we run into some sort of issue, I'll be able to have money there to take care of it. But regardless, you're going to run into damages. People are going to destroy the furniture that's in there. Legs, chair legs are going to break. They're not even going to try to. It's just going to happen. General wear and tear, it happens. Okay, you have to repaint the place. The fridge breaks, whatever it may be. Doesn't matter. Put some sort of number in there. Do some research. Read up on different articles of what people recommend, and add that to your costs. Okay. Now the next one is going to be amenities. There's a variety of different ways to actually go about providing amenities. You can do bulk, and you do a little individual. Whatever works for you, go for it. Whatever vibe or feel you want to give, go for it. With the whole COVID situation, the single uses are probably going to be the best ones right now. But here's a list of all the amenities that I personally have to spend, right? So we have shampoo, conditioner, dish soap, hand soap, dishwasher soap, a bunch of different soaps, laundry detergent, and cooking essentials, right? Cooking essentials, salt, pepper, olive oil, butter, things like that, right? So these are all, people expect those things to be there. And on average, I'm spending about $100 per unit per month on these amenities, right? So I got to calculate that, because otherwise I'm going to be missing a huge chunk of what I'm spending, right? So do the research on that. Check Amazon, check your local providers, and try and get a variety of different quotes to see exactly what you would want to be spending. And then you'll actually have a way better idea. This can be a big difference too. Also, when you talk to different cleaning companies, ask them what they provide. So are they providing the stuff to clean the floor? Are they providing the laundry detergent? Like, what are they providing? Obviously, I don't know all the different things that they provide, but what are they providing, right? And what are they not providing? Because then you're going to have to pay for those, and you want to add that into your expenses. So it's just a part of the whole situation. So in a sense, these are all the expenses that you're generally going to acquire. There may be some more, you may not have all of them. And you want to try and keep these costs down as best as you can without providing bad service. Okay. So what I mean by that is, don't get a really, really cheap cleaning company that can't clean properly. It's not worth it. Pay a little bit more. Don't get really, really bad internet. Pay a little bit more so that people are okay with it. Right. So you need to do your homework right now, and you need to figure out the exact cost of all this. If you do not, you are going to make a huge mistake. Your numbers are going to be off, and you're going to get this wrong. So stop here and go and actually start to figure these things out, okay? And then in the next video, I'm going to show you how I essentially just organize all of that information to then use for the final calculation, okay? So go and find this information, start tracking it, start recording it. I'll see you in the next video, and I hope this was helpful.